people who have never been to Armenia, just describe what life looks like for a foreigner who is not Armenian, who doesn't speak Armenian. What does it feel like living
By
there?
the way, I didn't learn Armenian intentionally. I didn't want to learn the language. To prove that, first of all, with English, you can just like survive all over the place, not just in the capital city. I've been traveling to different places in Armenia. I believe I covered the whole country, and I've never used Armenian. And I don't speak Russian, so I only speak English.
Interesting.
And people sometimes, like when they notice that I don't speak the language, they try to make it easy for me by like some hand gestures sometimes, with some English words they know, maybe like some Google translations, and we find a way. And I'm someone who does business with Armenian companies. I rent apartments. I travel like with local transportation. So I have experienced life in Armenia to the maximum. I'm not living as a tourist anymore. It's 7 years already with a child. So it means I'm more like a local who doesn't speak the language.
Does your child speak Armenian? I would assume.
He's 1 year old, but as he grows up, yes, of course, he's going to learn it in schools, because now my wife wants to learn the language, because she says, I want to follow up on him, like when he goes to school with the homeworks and everything. So yes.
Plus, you make deeper connections, I would say, with friendships. But I'm curious. So I always thought English being a like an international language, but the newer generation, especially, I would say they all speak English.
Yes.
Plus, they speak other languages. But I feel like I don't have an issue. Like I feel like everybody that I interact with speaks English.
Yeah, at least to a certain level that you can have some meaningful conversation or ask for something or get help with something. They can understand what you're looking for. I can give get a taxi or whatsoever. And
so tell me,
what is life in Armenia?
Yes, and what do you love about it? But also, let's be honest and talk about anything that you wish it was different.
Okay, so what I love about it is the ability of achieving a well-being. So like everyone worldwide is talking about well-being and achieving a work-life balance, and everyone is interested in remote work for that sense. Okay, there are many countries where you can work remotely, but you cannot live the real work-life balance. You cannot have this sense of well-being. In Armenia, you can. I work remotely. I've been working remotely for the last 10 years. And I enjoy my weekends to the maximum, because there are always activities you can do.
Well, tell us more about your weekends.
Okay. Whether it's, for example, sometimes something we do inside the city. So there are parties, there are conferences, there are things you can enjoy. There are a lot of activities all the time. Almost every single week there's something you can do. And sometimes we want to escape the city. Either we can go to Sevan to enjoy the lake. Either we can go to Dilijan or to Yerevan to enjoy the mountains. Hiking, biking, walking around. There are so many activities you can do in nature while in Armenia to just let go of everything. And if you do some meditation, then you just got it all. And that's what I mean by achieving a work-life balance, because I work hard during the week.
I'll tell you a secret. So I live in New York, as most of you know, in the suburbs of New York, in Westchester County. And obviously a lot of my work and interaction is in Manhattan. But I will tell you this, that when I come to Armenia, when I'm in Yerevan, I experience more culture than I do living in New York City or close to New York City. I don't know why it is. Maybe it's part of it is psychological, emotional, I don't know. I guess the best thing that I can say is Yerevan is a beautiful but small city.
Yep.
And it's walkable. You can walk everywhere. And when I'm in my home in New York, and the idea of having to get in the car and drive an hour and then find parking and then figure out where I have to go and then have to do the same thing back again, or the alternative is to drive the car to the train station, then take the train into Grand Central, and then going to where you need to go, and then to do the whole thing backward. More often than not, I was like, I can't be bothered, right? I come to Yerevan or to Armenia, and I am enjoying the nightlife. And I go to more dinner events, more concerts. Last time I was here, I probably was here for 6 weeks, and I probably attended 6 or 7 concerts. Almost every night we were out to dinner for different events. Not to mention the walking every day, every night, and it's a different feeling,
Yep.
It's a different feeling, and I never would have thought of it until I experienced it, now that I'm talking to you, I'm like, yeah, this is so true. And I feel like every city and every country has it has an aura or a soul, like a soul. Either, you can connect to it or you don't. You feel a connection to it or you don't. For example, in New York City, because I live in New York City too, a lot of my friends, family, colleagues that come to visit New York City, it's a very interesting phenomenon. They either love it or hate it.
Yep.
There's no in-betweens about New York. There's no in-betweens about New York City. They either love it, they see all the beauty and the arts and the fact that it's such an international place, cosmopolitan, all these smart people there, like they're all competing for like the top everything, right? Or they come and all they see is the garbage and the congestion and the crime and this and that. And it's like, I always said to myself, why? There's no in-betweens, So what I was trying to say is like every city has a soul. And I feel like Yerevan and Armenia also has a soul. But what I want to do is just finish up our conversation about your decision to move from Yerevan, which is the capital city of Armenia, which is where 90% of the commerce happens and everything else, and the cultural center of Armenia is really Yerevan, and the economic center, obviously. But obviously there are different cities in Yerevan, and I myself had a chance to experience, because of my travel this time around, I ended up renting an apartment in Hrazdan city,
Nice.
which is centrally located, which is only like 45 minutes outside of Yerevan, and for us New Yorkers, it's normal drive every day. So when Armenians hear me like, oh yeah, I'm outside of Yerevan, they're like in horror. What do you mean you're not in Yerevan? And first of all, the weather is nicer. It's cooler. I don't even have to use air conditioning, right?
Yep.
And I look out my apartment and I see mountains, which I love. I love the nature. But more importantly, because I'm traveling, like today we're in Yerevan, the other day I was in Sevan, I'm all over, I'm traveling, and I go to Yerevan, obviously. It's very centrally located. So, I want to talk to you about your decision. Obviously, you made a very important decision recently to relocate from Yerevan to Yerevan, which is another beautiful city. So tell us about your decision, why and how, and what the plans are. And I think that's how I would like to finish our conversation today.
I told you before, I'm a digital nomad. And I have a magazine, it's called Life in Armenia for Digital Nomad Families, where I show magazine. People can it's not like that formal magazine, but just people sharing their life experiences.
Can people contribute to your magazine?
Of course.
What kind of people could be contributing
Any
to it?
digital nomad or anyone who traveled to Armenia and had a positive experience.
Or a negative experience?
What I believe in, there's a lot of negative things about any country, and you can just Google it. So for me in the magazine, I just focus on the positive aspects, because there is negativity anywhere. There are bad things in every country. You can just Google it, you can find it. But what about the positive things? So the magazine is only for the good things that you can find in this country, because again, there are always...
I just have one suggestion that I want to tell to all of us to remember, that every experience that we go through, it is up to us to decide how we... How do we position our mind toward this experience, right? So whatever happens, good or bad, you can choose to accept it as a positive experience, or we can choose to accept it as a learning opportunity. So all negative experiences are learning opportunities. So and what you say is, I agree with that. There's pros and cons to every place you live.
It's not perfect, but
Right.
it's imperfectly perfect. That's what
Right.
makes it a good destination. That's what we
Right.
liked about it.